Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Juki Jai Shri Govana Gopinath Maran Mohan Juki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhaktivedānta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupa Rashata Rashata Shishimar Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai Nitya Pravishtam Vishnupāda Ashtara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosvāmī Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Gokṣaras Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitya Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanātana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhattadash Raghunath Shara Gosvāmī Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandal Gora Mandal Raja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Dāmodarāṣṭakam ki Jai Shri Radha Damodar Ju ki Jai Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam ki Jai Satyavrata Muni ki Jai Śrīla Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda ki Jai Śrīla Jiva Gosvāmīpāda ki Jai Śrīla Gurudev ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Hari Bo Raghav Goyal Hare Krishna. So I'm just doing a quick reading. I'm going to start, actually I'm proofreading. We're going to be printing this Dāmodarāṣṭakam soon after Kartik time. And so I thought might as well read it during Kartik here live while so that's what I'm doing. If you see me highlight, that's because I'm proofreading. This will just be a quick reading. We'll go over the preface. And then from tomorrow, we will begin from chapter 1, verse 1. So let me share my screen. Where are we? One second. What am I doing? Oops, let me close this. Okay. So you can see here, this is the book Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, Krishna Controlled by Love and Affection, written by Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Vedvyas. Dedicated to my holy master, Shri Gaudiya Vedanta Acharya Kesari, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtotara Shatashi Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, the best amongst the 10th generation of descendants in the Bhagavat Parampara from Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the founder of the Shri Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti and its branches throughout the world. Here's the contents. Okay, so we're reading this, the foreword and the preface. Okay, this is the foreword. Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, which is observed for the entire month of Kartik, is the most important vrat for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It has become famous by the name Damodar because Shri Krishna's pastime of being bound with rope by his mother took place during this month. Dama means rope, and bandhan means to bind. Thus, this pastime is known as Shri Dam Bandhan Lila. Shri Satyavrat Muni's eternally perfect Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam is part of the Padma Puran, which was recorded by Shri Krishna Dvaipayan Vedvyas. This Ashtakam, or prayer comprising 8 verses, reveals many deep and fundamental secrets about this beautiful pastime. Therefore, all of our Gaudiya Acharyas have prescribed that we sing it every day during the month of Kartik if we are serious about pleasing Kartiki Srimati Radhika, the presiding goddess of the month of Kartik. Singing this Ashtakam every day during the month of Kartik is so vital that Srila Sanātana Gosvāmī the crest jewel among Śrī Gaudiya Vaishnavas, has written a lucid and penetrating commentary on it, known as Dig-darśinī-ṭīkā. In 1954, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashtatara Shatashi Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, the founder of Śrī Gaudiya Samiti, published this book in the Bengali language after very carefully translating and annotating Śrīla Sanātana Goswami's commentary. And our own beloved Śrīla Gurudev, Parivrajaka Tridandi Swami Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja, who is the best among the disciples of Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, has translated the former edition into Hindi, with an additional commentary called the Dig-darśinī-vṛtti. Under his guidance, this English rendition is now being presented. Once, during the month of Kartik, Śrīla Gurudev read Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam from Śrīla Jiva Gosvāmīpād's Gopal Champu to his spiritual master, Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Upon hearing this pastime narrated by Śrīla Gurudev, Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja exhibited rare ecstatic symptoms. With Śrīla Gurudev's permission, we have included that same excerpt from Gopal Champu, translated into English for the first time, as an appendix to the present edition of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, along with Śrīla Gurudev's brief recount of the aforementioned history. In the Bengali edition by Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, there are many footnotes and parenthetical statements clarifying the Dig-darśinī-ṭīkā. In this English edition, therefore, all of these clarifications are marked by square brackets, with the exception of two padatikas, two footnotes in verse 4, one in verse 6, and one in verse 8. We have marked all of our own footnotes in this English edition as editor's footnotes. Where direct English translations of Sanskrit terms have been provided, standard parentheses have been used. The editors. Okay. Let me just check before I get into it. Haribo, Ganga Didi, and Gargaraj Ji, and Pramila Didi, Hare Krishna. A few words on Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam by Śrīla Bhakti Prajñāna. So this is from Śrīla Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja's preface to the original Bengali edition. So let me make it invert the colors. That's easier on the eyes, isn't it? I don't know, it's better. I'll just leave it like this. Okay. Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna Chandra, the original Supreme Lord who possesses unlimited inconceivable potencies, allows Mother Yashoda to bind his waist with rope. In this way, he fully relishes the very essence of the sweetness of her immaculate humor of parental love, Vatsalya Prema Ras, for him, and graces the world with the ultimate example of his subservience to his devotees. He manifests that supremely charming pastime of being bound around his waist, Śrī Dāmbandhan Lila, during the month of Kartik, on the first day of the bright fortnight. This is the principal reason why the supremely blessed month of Kartik has become famous by the name Damodar. And there's a footnote here. Damodar means he who has been bound by dam, by rope, around his udar, around his belly. Dam udar. Belly tie. Sorry. Okay. Oops, I lost my spot. Okay. Acharyapad Śrīla Gopal Bhatta Goswami compiled Śrī Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is the Smriti Shastra, which is the ritual law book of the Vaishnavas. There he has outlined the devotional activities to be observed during the month of Kartik. He points out the injunction to daily worship Śrī Radha Damodar and to recite the stotra, the prayer Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Radhikam pratimang vipra pujayet kartike tuya tasya tushyati tat prityay Śrīman Damodaro Hari. O learned Brahmins, one who worships the deity of Śrī Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik equally satisfies Śrī Damodar Hari. Dāmodarāṣṭakam nama stotram Dāmodarāṛchanam nityang Dāmodarakarshi patet satyam vratoditam. That's Sri Hari Bhakti Vilas 16,198. One who worships Śrī Damodar during Kartik month by daily reciting the prayer Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, which was uttered by Śrī Satyavrat Muni as it arose in his heart, will perpetually attract Śrī Damodar himself. As stated above, Śrī Damodar Hari becomes pleased with those who worship Śrī Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik. This Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam stava is narrated in the Padma Puran, where it is spoken by Śrī Satyavrat Muni in the context of a conversation between Narad and other sages headed by Shaunaka Rishi. In his commentary on this Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, Srila Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda stated, "This prayer is Nitya Siddha, which means eternally perfect. It has manifested through..." Where's the footnote here? Oh, let me read, actually, before I read this, let me read this footnote. So, as stated above, Śrī Damodar Hari becomes pleased with those who worship Radhika for pleasure during this month of Kartik. And then the footnote by Śrīmad Bhaktivedānta Vaman Goswami Maharaj from the preface to the Bengali edition. So Śrīla Vaman Goswami Maharaj says, by performing worship of Śrī Radhika for her pleasure during the month of Kartik, Śrī Damodar Hari becomes very pleased. This is because Urjeshwari Srimati Radharani, the controller of all potency, is the sole presiding goddess of this month. Unless someone worships his Sarup Shakti, his internal potency, or Hladini Shakti, the pleasure potency, Damodar Shri Krishna, the possessor of all potencies, does not accept his worship. Moreover, Shri Radha Devi, Shri Krishna's Antaranga Shakti, his internal potency, discards everything. She discards everything if she is worshipped alone without the Lord of her life. Oh, so if we just worship Shri Radha alone, then she'll discard it all if she's not worshipped without the Lord of her life. Therefore, Sarup, Rupa, Nuga, Gaudiya Vaishnavas in the line of Shri Rupa and Shri Sarup Damodar Goswamis have exclusively adopted the worship of Yugal, the divine couple, in Radha Lingita Vigraha, the form of Krishna when he is tightly embraced by Srimati Radhika. For the very same reason, Shri Krishna Dvaipayan Vedavyas has also offered his obeisances to Varsha Bhanavi, Shri Radhika, and her beloved Shri Damodar Krishna, the orchestrators of unlimited pastimes, in the last verse of the Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. In other words, he has established the supremacy of Shakti and Shaktiman Tattva, the Tattva regarding the potency and the potent, on one basis. Okay. This Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam stava is narrated in the Padma Puran, where it is spoken by Śrī Satyavrat Muni in the context of a conversation between Śrī Narad and other sages headed by Śrī Shaunaka Rishi. In his commentary on this Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, Srila Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda has stated, this prayer is Nitya Siddha, which means eternally perfect. It has manifested through Śrī Satyavrat Muni and is capable of attracting Śrī Damodar Krishna. In his extensive explanation, which is replete with personal realizations, Srila Sanātana Goswami has thoroughly revealed this prayer's ability to attract Śrī Damodar. For a long time, I have been nurturing the desire to publish this Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. When we used to gather together, especially every Kartik month while observing Damodar Vrat, we would regularly become absorbed in singing this Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam in unison. At such a time, the strong desire to make its secrets bloom within the hearts of all the sadhaks would arise within me. Furthermore, many bhakti sadhaks have also insistently requested me to publish it. Now, after so long, Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam's original Sanskrit verses, synonyms, and Srila Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda's Sanskrit commentary called Dig-darśinī have been published. For readers who do not know Sanskrit, the Bengali translations of the original verses and the above-mentioned commentary by Srila Sanātana Goswami have been included in this book. In the present age, it is noticed that many scholars whose intelligence has been spoiled by Kali have a spiteful outlook. They have a spiteful outlook towards the propagation of the Sanskrit language. Nevertheless, we still have published the Sanskrit work Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, desiring to benefit the entire country. Because you'll see in here, Paramgurudeva included Śrīla Sanātana Gosvāmī's full Sanskrit commentary, not just the translation of the commentary, but you could read the whole commentary in Sanskrit. Literary scholars of the Bengali language must always keep in mind that if we are to promote the Bengali language, Sanskrit is our only support. As Sanskrit literature is promoted, Bengali literature is also certain to progress. Those who imagine that Bengali will be promoted while overstepping Sanskrit literature are gravely mistaken. We notice that the language of such scholars is unsystematic in every respect. The freedom of the Bengali language is subordinate to Sanskrit. In other words, it is not absolutely autonomous. Rather, it is paratantra svatantra. Its independence relies on Sanskrit. With this principle in mind, we are presenting this book to intellectual circles. If one examines the manner in which Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam conveys philosophical concepts, the excellence of its composition, the astonishing way in which it unfolds this pastime, and other aspects of this ashtak, which was written down by Śrī Vyasadeva, it is obvious that it is an excellent work in the world of literature. Jagat Guru Śrīla Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda has written the detailed Dig-darśinī commentary on this ashtak, or prayer of 8 verses. Therein, based on the sadhak's different eternal temperaments. One second, I just want to. Oops. Oh, oops. We're gonna replace this part. Whatever. I'll just read it how it is in the book. Therein, he has revealed. Therein, he has revealed a comparative analysis of the realm of sadhan. Furthermore, he has established from every perspective the supremacy of vatsalya ras, parental love, and finally of madhur ras, conjugal love. Prakrit Sahajas discuss Raslila indiscriminately here and there in whatever way they please. To expose the immorality of such activities, Gosvāmīpāda has written the following. He has written the following at the end of his commentary on the 8th verse. I'm going to skip the Sanskrit commentary, but you see it here. The translation of this part of the commentary, as well as a footnote, has been printed on page 160 of this book. There, an excellent deliberation is given in regard to such inappropriate discussions within Sahajya congregations. Since the Sahajias are utterly unqualified, they cannot in any way be considered highly eligible candidates for relishing Raslila. As we know, Bhakti is transcendental to the three worlds of material existence, so topics like Raslila cannot be understood within any worldly realm of analysis. Oh, and should we see what Prakrit Sahajas means? Let's look at that. So Śrīla Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada states, endowed with material intelligence, Sahajias cannot understand the topics concerning the transcendental spontaneous occupation of the living entity. Their misdeeds invite immorality and prevent the proper delineation of the true variegatedness of the supremely pure Vishuddha Sattva realm of Goloka. Such acts simply degrade their contaminated consciousness to indulge in sense gratification. As soon as confusion occurs about sadhan and siddhi, the stages of practice and perfection, the jiva becomes a prakrit sahajya. So, the prakrit sahajyas think dull matter can become chit, spiritual, and by the power of one's sadhan, Bhagavan can be seen with one's material eyes. This is their conception. They say, just as bell metal transforms into gold when mercury is added to it, this prakrit, this material body, becomes aprakrit, transcendental, by the power of bhajan. Then, with these same material eyes, Bhagavan can be seen. Srila Sanātana Gosvāmī has completely refuted the statement of the Prakrit Sahajyas in Śrī Bhagavatamrita, as well as in his Dig-darśinī commentary on this Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Seeing Bhagavan within the mind and seeing him directly. In this regard, it is essential to carefully deliberate on the commentaries of Srila Sanātana Gosvāmī on verse 4 and verse 6 of this book. From the concepts presented in those two verses, the Prakrit Sahajyas may infer that Srila Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda explains that seeing Bhagavan with one's eyes is superior to seeing him with the minds during meditation. That Gosvāmīpāda has established Gopakumar's direct perception of Bhagavan with his eyes as superior to Brahma's vision of Bhagavan through meditation must be carefully considered. In this example, Gosvāmīpāda is not referring to Gopakumar seeing Bhagavan with material eyes. Only after Gopakumar was situated within the realm of Vaikuntha, the transcendental platform, is it described that he saw Bhagavan with his eyes. In the realm of Vaikuntha, the material senses do not exist. Therefore, the Gopas and Gopis' direct proximity with Sri Bhagavan is in every respect transcendental and beyond the grasp of the material senses. This matter cannot be perceived by the senses of Prakrit Sahajyas. I have already mentioned that Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. Okay, so that's that point. Now, actually, it might be nice to put a little bit here, huh? Oops. 1 second. Let me just. Anyways, doesn't matter. Just making a comment. I have already mentioned that Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam is to be sung and discussed daily while observing Urja-vṛtti, also known as Kartik-vṛtti or Damodar-vṛtti. Those who wish to please Śrī Damodar in the month of Damodar should certainly read Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam daily and in its entirety. This is the specific injunction of Śrī Hari Bhakti Vilas. Various ways of observing Damodar-vṛtti are found in the scriptures. Urja-vṛtti comes within Chaturmasya Vṛtti. It begins from Ekadashi, Dwadashi, or Purnima and ends on those very days, 1 month later. However, if these days are vidha, if they're penetrated, they should never be counted. Srila Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda states, in vratas observed by Vaishnavas, vidha titis should be strictly rejected. Therefore, even the days on which the Chaturmasya and Urja Vrats begin or end, they should be observed, discarding the vidha titis. The opinion of Śrī Hari Bhakti Vilas is that if Surya, the sun, rises and penetrates the commencing or concluding titi of the Chaturmasya Vrat and Urja Vrat, they should not be counted. So, luckily, those people who make our Vaishnava calendars, they take this all into consideration, so we don't need to. But it's good to understand this, anyways. In the following passages, we are quoting a short article by Srila Thakur Bhaktivinod regarding Kartik Vrat. This article clearly determines the day on which the duties involved in pleasing the Vrat should be performed. The injunction given for those who begin their Vrat on the day of Ekadashi also applies to those who start on Dwadashi or Purnima. The article is as follows. To observe Kartik Vrat is a primary duty of a Vaishnava. One second, just give me 1 second, guys. Okay, I'm back. What was I saying? Okay. To observe Kartik Vrat is a primary duty of a Vaishnava. Ashvinasya tumasasya ya shuklaika dashi bhavet kartikasya vratan iha tasyam kuryad atandritaha. That's Śrī Hari Bhakti Vilas 16:168. Kartik Vrat begins from the Ekadashi that comes within the bright fortnight of the month of Ashvin, September-October. and it should be observed with great self-restraint and discipline. According to this statement, every year from the Akadashi that follows Vijaya Dashami, one should begin one's vrat and end it on the day of Uttana Akadashi. The vrat observed during this particular month is called Niyam Seva. The rules of Niyam Seva are as follows. On every day of that month, during the last period of the night, one should purify oneself and perform the Mangal Arati of Sri Krishna. Later on in the morning, after bathing, one should perform Archan of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. One should offer burning wicks of ghee or sesame oil in Bhagavan's temple at the base of Tulasi and towards the sky. In the month of Kartik, one should eat food that is strictly vegetarian and offered to Bhagavan. One should not take food cooked by others. In other words, one shouldn't dine out. And one should not sleep on another's bed, take oil or honey, or use bell metal utensils. After honoring Bhagavan's remnants, one should hear or study Śrīmad Bhagavatam and other scriptures in the association of Vaishnavas. One should incessantly perform Nam Kirtan of Shri Hari and remember him. Following these rules, one should pass the entire month. Then, on the day of Uttana Akadashi, one should fast, even from water, and spend that night awake, absorbed in hearing and chanting topics about Sri Krishna. The next day in the morning, one should purify oneself and then perform Hari Kirtan. Afterwards, one should distribute the Lord's prasad among one-pointed, intimately related Vaishnavas, and finally honor some oneself. That day, at the end of the night, one will end the vrat. To please Śrī Radha Damodar is the primary purpose of observing Urja Vrat. Srimati Radharani is addressed as Urjeshwari. Therefore, to please Śrī Damodar, Śrī Satyavrat Muni added the statement, Namo Radhikayai Tadiya Priyayai, thereby implying that in observing Śrī Damodar Vrat, worship of Śrī Radha Damodar is one's exclusive obligation. Among the 64 limbs of bhakti that are followed by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we find mention of Urjadar, honoring or observing Śrī Urja Vrat. One should understand that Urjadar refers to following the complete Chaturmasya Vrat. Some say, since there is no mention of observing Chaturmasya Vrat among the 64 limbs of bhakti, we will only observe Urja Vrat. We will not undergo the trouble of observing this 4-month vrat. People who try to perform bhajan, being unacquainted with the profound meaning of the scriptures, engage in whimsical, undisciplined behavior. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed us to observe this Chaturmasya Vrat through his own example by following it himself while in Sri Rangakshetra, Sri Rangam. We cannot count as Shuddha Vaishnavas those who are unable to follow the teachings that were demonstrated and preached by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We want to substantiate our above statement with an example. Of the 6 limbs of surrender, Sharanagati, only Atmanivedan, submission of one's very self, is mentioned among the 9 types of bhakti, or Navada Bhakti. Will it then be concluded that the other 5 limbs of Sharanagati are prohibited or to be excluded from one's sadhan? Since Atmanivedan is topmost among the 6 ways of surrendering, one must understand that simply by its mention, all the other ways of surrender have also been prescribed for the practicing devotee. The 6 limbs of surrender are accepted only as one method of spiritual practice. Although one is primary, one is the angi, and the other are its elements, are the angas. Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam is eternal. Therefore, we should study it, sing it out loud, and discuss it, not just during the month of Kartik, but every day throughout Chaturmasya. It is so important that it is worth reading every month, and indeed every day of the year. If this Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam is glorified in a sublimely pure way, Śrī Damodar will become pleased. It is with this intention that with great effort we have compiled this book. In doing so, we are especially indebted to the revered Pandit Sri Yuta Navina Chandra Smriti Vyakaran Tirtha Mahodaya. He has given valuable assistance in translating the Dig-darśinī commentary into Bengali and in the presentation of the synonyms and so forth. In some places, The Dig-darśinī commentary seems so incomprehensible that it is almost impossible to unearth its true meaning. He therefore personally underwent great pains to consult pundits from Navadvip and many other places and discuss these sections with them, thereby ascertaining a perfectly relevant meaning. We are therefore especially indebted to him. The Dig-darśinī commentary has been published in several editions of Hari Bhakti Vilas, chapter 16. After comparing the original verses with these commentaries, we have published everything in such a way so as to be consistent. In his commentary on this book, Srila Sanātana Gosvāmīpāda has mentioned the concepts presented in Śrī Bhagavatamritam. We have included those concepts as footnotes. There we have published the original verses of Śrī Bhagavatamritam, along with their translations explicitly conveying their deeper meaning for the reader's easy understanding. Finally, my anguished prayer to the Shuddha Vaishnavas is that they become pleased by reading and discussing this book during the Chaturmas and during Chaturmasya and Urja Vrat. I will then consider my efforts successful. Thus I conclude. Shri Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava, first day of Kartik, 1954. All right, so I will end here. And beginning tomorrow, I think I'll start at 6:30 p.m. every day, 6:30 p.m. India time. Yeah, and we'll sing Dāmodarāṣṭakam also tomorrow. I'd like to, but I'm actually late for another engagement right now, so I'm just going to end here. But thank you so much for joining me in this reading, and I hope you all have a very wonderful, auspicious, successful Damodar Vrat. Hari Bol. Dandavat pranam, everybody. Jai Śrīla Gurudev, Jai Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Gurudev Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Paramgurudeva Ki Jai, Jai Śrīla Prabhupada Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Saprasad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopigan Ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai, Shri Kartik Vrat Ki Jai, Damodar Vrat Ki Jai, Vrat Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Urjeshwari Shri Vrishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Dāmodarāṣṭakam Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Pramila Mataji, Hari Krishna. Okay, see you all tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. So my program now is in the morning at around 7:30 or maybe later if the morning program goes on later. So like around 7:30 to 8 a.m. I'll start. I'm reading Gopi Geet from Sri Raspanchadhyay here. And then in the evening time at 6:30 p.m. I'll read Dāmodarāṣṭakam. All right, so hope you can join. Jai Shri Radhe.